Hi there, and welcome to the Curious Collective podcast, conversations designed for veterans and first responders to bring awareness to those holistic practices that help us live our best life. So tap into the wisdom and knowledge of our guests to heal, transform, and live as your true soulful self. I am absolutely honored to have with us today the amazing Tim Thomas. I have followed this man for many years on Instagram and actually only this year got to face meet him. And I think we've met a couple of times, and his energy is infectious and we get along like a house on fire. So welcome, Tim.
Thank you so much, Katie. But let me tell you a little secret. Katie probably wasn't happy she met me in person at times, because when she met me, she actually ended up in my chest freezer, which is maybe 5 meters away from me right now. And there was probably a few moments there she was like, you know what? This guy's crazy. What am I doing? I just met him face to face.
So cool. So yes, Tim he's known as the Iceman sometimes, or Ice Addicts was the group that he added me into.
Katie, I'm just an ice guy.
The ice guy. And we did...
Had to drop that dad joke in early, okay?
He's good with dad jokes. We did breathwork together in his backyard with his beautiful dog, and then we jumped in this ice bath. It was my first ever experience. And whoo, let's talk into a bit more of that a bit later on. But
no, you did really well. I was really impressed. You just went there. Like, I put thousands of people in the ice, and what a lot of people do is they'll, what I call, bounce, because they go in, the stimuli goes in, and then like all life is just stimuli, right? And how you classify that determines your reaction to it. So a lot of people bounce because the stimuli will come in through your body, because it's a lot of stimuli, the cold. But if you've got an attachment to cold being bad, then all of a sudden I see whites of the eyes, and if you don't breathe properly, you bounce. But you just went click. I could almost hear it go click in your head, and you went boom. This is just, the word I would use for you in your experience was radical mindfulness. That's what you experience. And you can't, people talk about that, but you actually displayed that. So people at home, you're talking to a bit of a Zen lady here. She showed up when it needed. So sorry to cut you off, but I had to speak to that because I put a lot of people in, and I remember you going in there, and it was pretty cool to be in the presence of your energy. It was good. Let's just say it was good to be around.
Yeah, thank you. And I feel like I also couldn't have done it without your amazing coaching, because you helped to get my breath resonating with how I was reacting within my body, which was perfect. Yeah, because you think you need to do something else, but you definitely don't. So anyone that hasn't tried it before, if you are in the Brisbane area, which we'll do at the end anyway, but come and try it with Tim. Firstly, we have this amazing man here. Let's find a bit more about him. So Tim, can you please tell us what it is you are doing in the world at the moment, and what is it that's making your heart sing?
Okay. I like that you prepared me for that one, because when I'm thinking, what makes my heart sing? And I'm like, the frame of that question, I can see where it's coming from, because it's about, what you connect most highly with. But as a dude, I find that's more of a feminine line of inquiry. But if you ask me, like, what makes me feel amazing, I could answer that. Okay. So this morning, like, I'll just share, literally this morning, I knew I was going to be on this podcast. And if we work off the idea that, we're built for connection, okay, there's no surprise that we're happiest, strongest, most deeply satisfied when we feel connection. All right. And I think if anyone's worth anything, they either do two things in this world. They enhance connection, or they remove blockages. Okay. Because as much as we're built for connection, we all tend to hang on to blockages while we're in this physical form. Okay. And I've I've usually found people drink to their blockage level. Okay. Like I after 2 drinks, I'm friendly to everybody. I can connect and get rid of my blockages. Some people might need to have 6. Me, I used to have to drink half a carton of piss before I spoke to my then wife. Right. And if I look at the numbers, fun fact, I'm dyslexic. So I failed high school, but I'm in the top percentile in pattern recognition. All right. So when I look at the world, there's 7 billion people, and there's a $550 billion spend on illegal drugs. So there's a lot of people out there that want to get over their blockages and connect. You know what I mean? So that's how I interpret that data. So knowing that I had this podcast this morning, I made an extra effort to remove the blockages inside myself. So I got up at 4:30, which is not unusual for me. I started doing my breath work in bed, started unblocking my chi, but I did it with the intention of not just connecting with you, but also connecting with the people listening right now. Okay. So I paid extra attention and I went into some extra high cardio zones to remove the blockages inside myself so I could let that which allows that which comes through me to connect to others to help remove their blockages. So after some breath work, I laid on what's called a Shakti mat.
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
You've seen the Shakti mat? Okay, so I've been blessed with chronic back injuries and chronic pain. So my morning routine has to be really switched on. Otherwise I'm buckled over. I used to be buckled over for 3 weeks out of 4. But this thing here, that's a Shakti mat. And if you look, you can sort of see those spikes.
Vicious.
Okay. So you see those spikes? Now this is an advanced one where it's sort of extra spiky, but I lay on that, I do breath work, and I have my feet in pretend these are my feet, in a chi machine which wobbles them back and forth, which creates like a figure 8 through my body. So that's circulating my chi as well as my cardiovascular, as well as, you know, laying on that thing. And I'm a bit of a life hacker. So I've got a set of speakers. I've got 2 of these, one each side, and they play 40 megahertz. No, 40 hertz. Yeah. And that 40 hertz is really good for your mental cognition, neural pathways. And so after I did that, I went outside, did some breath work with the dogs, sunrise, grounded my feet in the earth. And then I had some cacao and did a 2 or 3K run with my dogs, put them away, and then did a 3K run out to a place where there's a tree that's fallen across the path, and it's a really hardwood, heavy tree. And I've hidden a little tomahawk about as big as my forearm in that area. And every day I give myself 1 minute of just going nuts, going freaking nuts on it, like man street, like, you know,
like a psycho in the woods.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you wouldn't want to come, you know. but it's just that time to go a bit nuts, and I think guys especially need that place just to let that craziness out, you know, because it's there whether you access it or not. So I'm all about letting out stuff in productive, constructive ways, as opposed to unproductive, destructive ways, you know. Or what we tend to do as guys is we will try and take substances to try and sort of be happy with the blockages we're carrying. You know, I used to drink a lot. I used to take a lot of pharmaceuticals. So I've kind of sculpted my day in ways to sort of access those parts of me that then remove the blockages so I can fully connect, so I can fully be myself, not have any fears. And today was a special priority because I knew I was talking to you and the people listening today. I really honor those people because they are what's called seekers of information. And ancient Chinese say, honor the seeker. So in their mythology, the seeker, it finds the magic wishing staff, which you can make wishes, right? And that's what real powerful knowledge does. You can bring into the world your deepest desires. So as much as I'm sharing my story right now, I'm allowing myself to sort of speak in such a way where it's you know, reaching out and touching those who are listening right now, because I really, like I said, the people listening right now, I really want to honor, because it's regular conversations like this that you get really juicy bits of information, because there's a bit of I'll just say this now, a bit of a misconception in this world right now. There's this misconception that we live in an age of information. Okay. But we actually live in an age of marketing. So if you Google something, the first 6 pages are marketers. All right. And there's a big difference between a marketer and someone who's empowering or healing, you know, you. And it's not until you've got a real problem that you can't shift that you realize a lot of people are promising but not delivering. Okay. Veteran with PTSD here. Man, it was so hard to find someone who actually did what they said they could do. Okay, because the marketing, and then you end up just not trusting your body, and then you end up saying, screw everything, I'm dropping off the map, right? But what a marketer will do, because blessed marketers, they really know how to say what you want to hear. Like, oh, that's exactly what I want. Just the one thing that'll solve everything, right? Okay. But and they'll take dollars out of your pockets and put you into an early grave. Okay. But what a healer will do, or someone who's really connected to something powerful, they know their energy is not enough for two. Okay. But what they do have is an alignment to something incredibly powerful. And it might have taken them a month, a year, 10 years to align to that. And when you spend time with them, they'll help you align to that, which is really powerful. And you'll have your own connection in far less time than it took them.
Yeah.
You know, and then you'll have that connection, and you won't need that person anymore. Okay. And there's a few little dynamics in that. One of which is, you might have noticed this yourself. I'm laughing when I say this. When you really connect people to something powerful, it's like, a lot of times they think, oh, I've always been like this. I was never in that dark place. I've always sort of been for it. And they don't even see the need to thank you for it. You know what I mean? But the people I tend to gravitate to are the ones that go, oh, wow, that's awesome. And they actually have that gratitude in their heart. And then they're like, you know, these are my people. These are the people I want to spend the rest of my life with. You know, tapping into something powerful, having gratitude. Hence this thing across my chest here, this hashtag #GratFizGen, gratitude, physicality, generosity. All right. So I was tasked as a wellness coach there was a national university who wanted to reduce the amount of overseas students dropping out. Okay. I'm like, okay, I've never done that before. But one thing I know is, in special forces, the power of a team. Okay. Small team. You don't need a whole army to fight a war. Okay. But I also knew there's certain universal truths out there that if you tap into, have a consistent result. You know, one of which is gratitude. Gratitude connects to your mind. Physicality connects to your body, and generosity. Now, all these things, they kind of work, but how do you do it when you're in a state of fatigue and you're like, well, I don't have the energy to get through my day. How do I do that? You do that if you work off the opinion that, you know, if we're built for connection, and it's the connection that creates the energy. Okay. It's our alignment that creates the energy. It's not so much that we're generators. We're more like solar panels. What we align with creates the power. Okay. And that can be different from person to person. All right. Some people like playing guitar. Some people like going crazy with an axe hitting a tree. Right. Okay. So the point is, everyone's got their divine signature. Okay. That they know they're in line with it when they just get a multitude of energy returned to them. Okay. It does cost an amount, like, you know, like it might cost you $10 worth of energy, but you get like $1,000 back. So that's tells you that's your thing. So point I'm trying to make here is the uni students started making this t-shirt, and I got one called #GratFizGen, because it was a 3 to 5 person team, and every day they checked in, they put a thumbs up in the group chat when they did their gratitude. They sent a picture of their physicality, and when they did an act of generosity, they shared their act of generosity. Now, it wasn't generosity, phys, gratitude. It was gratitude. It was physicality, gratitude, then generosity. So connect to your body, physicality, connect to your mind, gratitude. And once you've got this connection powerful here, you know, powerful connections inside yourself tend to lend themselves to powerful connections outside of yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, so power underneath your own skin, power outside of your own skin. And it was incredible what happened when people shared their act of generosity in the group. It was like everyone just tripled their, oh my gosh, that everyone was so happy for each other. Like, that was so cool, you know. But you couldn't do your generosity without doing your connection to self, because here's the thing I learned very early on in the veteran piece. So as a veteran coming out of PTSD, I realized, oh, geez, there's a lot of other people in that space. And I set this goal, being a dude, setting a goal, and to crush that goal. I want to save 40 guys from suicide, 40 veterans from suicide. And I don't care if I work the rest of my life. I'll be happy. I'll die happy if I get that. But that actually happened within a year. 1 or 2 guys a week. I was working with a veteran charity called Mates for Mates. 1 or 2 guys a week would come up and say, do you remember that conversation? I'm like, yep. You know, well, I had everything in the car ready to kill myself, and that one conversation stopped me. All right. So, and that was good. But here's the thing, and this is what I talk about: connecting to yourself first before you connect to others. What no one knew was that I was using helping others as a bit of a pain relief for myself. Like it's like taking a Panadol for a broken leg.
Yeah.
You know, a very powerful analgesic. And every 6 or 7 weeks, I used to have to hit the grog like for 2 or 3 days just to clear the shit out of my head. And so my saying now is, I never give of myself, I give of my abundance. Okay, and that was the biggest lesson for me to learn, because I'm blessed to have naturally generous parents. Like, they are the type of people that give the shirt off their backs.
They're
like
beautiful.
my mum. My mum is freaking hilarious, right? Like, I want to give you just an example because it's hilarious. All right. I always laugh when I tell this story. So I'm in the backyard of my mum last year, and she had a gerber, a daisy, you know, those pretty gerbers in a pot. And I'm like, "Oh, Mum, you bought a gerber?" And she's like, "Nah, I bought a pot." She said, "No, I found a pot." She found a pot. And I'm like, "Hang on, what do you mean you found a pot?" She says, "Yeah, well, I just knew there was something good in it, so I kept watering it, and 8 weeks later that came out."
Oh, beautiful.
And I'm like, "What?" And I just me and her just started laughing. You know, it was just like, that's the kind of folks that I had, just crazy generous, but I couldn't be like that. Kate, as much as I saw that as like a role model, I just couldn't do it. I ended up feeling, when I was generous, I found myself feeling used, and then I'd get angry, hurt, and F you, I'm never going to do that again. I'd make a rule that, you know, I'm going to protect myself. But you know, now, you know, generosity is part of my daily routine, because I connect to myself first with physicality, you know, gratitude, and then I'll commit to 1 or 2 acts a day, you know, of generosity. So that explains, you know, the shirt, but it also, I hope it answers that, where we were going.
I love how your brain works. Like, for listeners that have never met Tim, like, I get this guy, and my brain also works like a mouse on a wheel. So even though our conversation can sometimes go in thousands of directions, I still get it. So please take a few breaths, and if you need to re-listen to that, do, because there are absolute chestnuts of wisdom in what this man is saying. And what I really want to talk into, although there was a lot to unpack there, is I love that you shared, and my whole body covered in goosebumps, when you were using caring for others as a self-medication, because in the veteran first responder space, this is so common. It's like, I use the analogy of a lighthouse, and, you know, we could just be the lighthouse, you especially, Tim, be the lighthouse and just shine out, and people will still benefit. But what we've done in the past is run around the island as the lighthouse trying to save all the boats. It's like, we don't need to do that, you know. But so many people, like you said, they haven't gotten into their body. They haven't found that gratitude inwards first to be able to then be outwards. And it is such an important thing. And I think that we should definitely drive this message home.
Oh, look, and I don't want to go dark right now, but some of my darkest times was after I'd been generous and then felt taken advantage of. And then I started seeing in others, like, there were some pretty, you know, dark people out there, and they started off being generous, you know, doing what they thought was right. And then I sort of saw the formula there. Like, if I'm adequate, and if I'm, say, 100%, and I give 10% away to somebody, you know, because generosity is a natural thing to do, but then I'm down to 90%, and somewhere inside of me, I'm like, you got to do something with that, you know. And if they just take it and I don't see any return, then there's a part of me that's like, you know, okay, well, look, I'll just stick to what I think is right, and I'll give away another 10%. And then before I know it, I've given away so much that I end up becoming, I'm in deficit. Let's just say that. But here's the thing. If I invest in myself and I generate, you know, 350%, I can give away 20% a day, and they can love it, hate it, tell me to get lost. It doesn't matter. I'm in touch with something so much more powerful than what gets taken from me. Okay, I'm going to say that again, because that's really important to hear. I'm in touch with something. We can be in touch with something so much more powerful than what can be taken. And once you get your head around that, you start losing your fear in being generous, because people do whatever. That's just what they might do. But what they can't interrupt is your alignment to that which creates an abundance. And here's the thing. This is the wisest thing I learned, was that energy has a shelf life of 18 to 24 hours. You know, every day we gotta reinvest that energy to then have that abundance. And I'm telling you now, there are two completely different types of people in this world, Katie. And they're both you. They're both us. You know, there's the us that wakes up, invests in their own energy, has an abundance, and lives a day from a position of strength. They know what's good for them. They can, you know, and it just gets it spirals upwards. Okay. But then there's the us, you know, I'll own this, where we don't invest in ourselves. We've got so much energy, and unconsciously we end up protecting it. You know, on a good day, that might mean an extra cup of coffee. On a bad day, I'm a freaking a-hole because I need energy. I can't generate it for myself, so I take. Okay. And if you ever wondered why there's so many a-holes in the world, it's because they haven't figured out how to generate for themselves, and they still need energy, so they can't help it. Like, it's like they're drowning. You know, there's plenty of air around, but it's like they're energetically drowning, and they have to sort of claw at everything else, and they literally can't help themselves because that's their reflex. They haven't generated that sense of self-regeneration. And as a guy who has a strong sense of self-justice, and I encountered an amount of bullying within the ADF, I was able to put to rest all my dark desires for revenge on these people when I realized that, yes, that person kicked my ass, they took from me. Okay, but the only reason they took from me is because they're a zero. Okay, if you look at it on a scale of potential, their potential is relative. Like, if that's their point, their potential is relative to how many victims they can find. Okay, and you might find these people have a rotating, you know, circle of people that don't really stick around because people figure out, look, you're just taking, right? Yeah. And if I went after that person, I'd end up in that same place as them. You can't take from a zero. All right. But if I invested in me and kept investing in me, and me, I would sort of get above that point where they're just so below me. When I'm talking to high school students, and in that culture, they can, you know, if there's bullies in that space, they can be quite, because everyone sort of protects themselves, you know. And when you go into fight or flight, fast beats slow. Like, fast meaning your reactions beat your higher thinking of getting above it. So when I'm talking to high school students, I'll show them this Venus flytrap. And, you know, before I bought a Venus flytrap, I thought they'd be really big, but they're really tiny, right? And so I'll show them this Venus flytrap, and you know, I'm like, does this look scary? No, but to a fly, this little Venus flytrap is freaking terrifying. Okay, and while that fly is still in that state, it's always going to be terrified of that Venus flytrap. So I want you to picture someone who's possibly taken from you and made you feel scared, terrified, whatever it is. Okay. Now, that fly, if it had a human ability, it could invest in itself and make itself stronger. This is our uniqueness as a human. Like, we're in a physical human body. If you're listening to this right now, you're in a physical human body. Okay. Unless you pump this out underwater and dolphins are listening, you're a human right now. So if we can invest in ourselves, make ourselves stronger, that fly could, say, turn itself into a bird. The bird could turn itself into a cat. The cat could turn itself into a lion. Okay. And imagine that lion walking past that little Venus flytrap. Like, it would laugh at itself that it ever took that threat seriously. You know what I mean? This is the thing that us humans need to aim at. Like, if something's taken from you, and we all get taken from, you turn that freaking thing into a Venus flytrap by becoming a lion, by investing in yourself, you know. And that, to me, you know, was the best way to get ahead, to have revenge, if you really want to call it that, or just lose the wasted energy. Yeah.
I see like a fire inside, and it's about just stoking that fire and igniting it so much that you are just lit up, and nothing else around you phases you.
And that fire lasts 18 to 24 hours. Because some days when you don't invest, you're like, who was that person yesterday that was really motivated? Now I feel like complete shit. You know, like, and then it's very easy to tell yourself, well, I'm not going to stoke the fire again because it's just going to go flat again, you know, and be very mindful of that. That can be, you know, I'm not a doctor, but it can, I know I've been depressed myself where, you know, you're sort of getting down when you say, well, even if I invest in myself, it's all going to go to shit anyway. So why do that? You know, like that Eeyore type mentality, but, you know, Winnie the Pooh, Eeyore, it's all this terrible. And, you know, like that is the thing where you have to sort of catch yourself, because I think as humans, the thing that we have survived in the past with is being energy conserving organisms. Okay. The more we conserve, you know, in times of scarcity, you know, the longer we live. We sort of go in this hibernation state, but we can reverse that evolutionary trait by investing in ourselves and having a body and a mind that generates more energy each day, as opposed to, well, something bad's happened, I'll protect myself, but by protecting myself, I'll get smaller. And I'm somehow dying slowly here because I'm protecting myself, you know? So I think it's important to genuinely dive into the healing space.
With curiosity.
Yeah, with curiosity, because healing has to happen before we can actually give our gifts generously, you know, and because a lot of people get stuck in the healing journey, because right now, healers, whether you call them doctors, psychologists, counselors, they're like coffee shops. There's two in every corner, but it's really hard to find a good one. And you've got to work really hard to find that one that really suits you. And no one tells you that. So when you really need healing, you go around all these different healers, and often it's so disappointing. And a lot of veterans, I've been working in the veteran space for over 10 years. And a lot of guys honestly say, you know what, I tried getting healing didn't help. In fact, it made it worse. So I'm never going to do that again. You know, and what people don't realize, and what made me effective in that space of, you know, saving 40 guys within a year, was that there was two things that mainstream medical system did not see happening. And the first one was that pain works in a certain way. And the mainstream medical just didn't see it. To me, it was obvious as, because I was experiencing myself. And what pain does, it doesn't matter if it's emotional or physical, it'll get to a certain duration or intensity where it stops becoming just pain, because we can handle pain. We're built for it, right? Well, what it does do is create isolation, loneliness. It's not just pain anymore. I'm the only person going through this. It's just me. You know, and if you go by the fact that we're built for connection, we're strongest, happiest, most satisfied when we're connected. When we're disconnected, we are weakest. We are, what's the opposite to most satisfied? Yeah, vulnerable. And when you're outside the herd, because the herd watches back, when you're the herd, you know, gives you that protection. When you're outside of the herd and it's just you, everything's a threat, because everything is a threat. If I drop my guard for a second, something bad's going to happen. Okay. And if you first responders are out there, you know, you like to be the one that sort of look out for threats, because if you drop your guard, it's not just dropping your guard for yourself, it's dropping your guard for the people that are around you. You know, I stay in this vigilant state as a testament to how much I care for the people around me. You know, but you don't know, you're sort of cooking yourself on the inside if you don't allow yourself to go into rest and digest mode. Okay. Nothing wrong with going high end. We're built for it. But if you're in a disconnected state, you'll notice that you can't actually go into that rest and digest, and just note the quality of your sleep. That is an indicator of your sense of balance, internal balance. All right. Because we tend to kick around consciously with our eyes open and our mouths open in the daytime, right? And often when we're in balance, we'll shove things in our eyes, we'll shove things in our mouth to try and create the balance. But when we try and go to sleep and we close our eyes and we close our mouth, we don't have any of those external stimuli shoving stuff in there. We're actually back into here, and back in here is like, well, we're a bit out of balance.
Yeah, scary. I want out.
Like
That's a really good way to put it. I've not actually heard that. That's really good. Makes sense. I always talk about that mind-body disconnect, but that analogy was fantastic.
Yeah. Mouth open, eyes open, shove, shove, shove.
Yeah.
Ears, you know, the music.
So you are a massive advocate for breathwork. Can you tell me how you discovered this? Where was your turning point in this space?
Sure. Okay. So, let me just have a halftime stretch. Katie, stretch with me. Stretch with me. Halftime stretch at home if you're not. All right. So, 2009, I'm on deployment in Afghanistan with the Australian Special Forces Commandos, right? I was with Bravo company, same company as VC winner Cameron Baird. And we had spent more time outside the wire than any other special forces at the time. We're out there for weeks on end. Normally you go out, hit your target and go, but this was just continue. And we were heading into a place where they hadn't had any allied forces for years. So I think the Yank commander said, because we're doing some working together with the Yanks, said when we get there, it's going to go nuclear. Okay, because they're just entrenched there, right? Anyway, you don't really get anything you'd call sleep when you're outside the wire. I mean, in special forces, you're trained to deal with fatigue, but when you're outside the wire, it goes to a whole new level. You lose your mates. You argue with your team. There's no downtime. You can't go to the pub, you can't hang out, and you're hanging with dudes all the time too, which doesn't seem like much. I mean, they're your brothers, but hanging out, you don't have that soul nurturing time with a woman or a child. It kind of, to me, it felt like my insides went to dust at times. And I tell you, when I met my son after being away for all that time at the airport, when he ran into my arms, it felt like
medicine.
It felt like the dust just had a spring of water just came up through my chest, and it was now getting irrigated again. It was so vivid, vivid. So you're in this state of high fatigue, and I had this sense that I was going to die, and I remember and I was arguing with the guys in charge, because that's what we do as blokes. And he told me to piss off and go to the gun turret. I'm in the gun turret, just looking out at the dust and thinking, what's the freaking point? What is the point? I'm going to die out here anyway, because that's what I told myself I was going to do. And I had my bottom lip on the ground pretty hard. And when you're in that space, it genuinely feels like you're never going to come out of it. When you're really down and low, the hardest thing about it is think, I will never see the daylight again. It can be the brightest day, but it's like somehow dark night. I don't know why, but it's like, and that's where I was. And then I'm like, it's like I've got maybe 2 cents worth of energy. I'm an absolute pauper right now. And then it was like, this voice said, well, Tim, if you've only got 2 cents, you better invest that wisely. You can't waste it on arguing or blaming or anything like that. Okay, so when the time came to get horizontal, it wasn't sleep, but it was just, hey, you crashed on that piece of dirt for a bit. I would, instead of just, even though my body just wanted to crash, I would hold certain stretches of parts of my body that were hurting and do deep breathing, and then deep breathing. And then as I went to sleep, because when you're trying to sort of take a shot in the army, they get you to breathe, exhale, slow your heart rate down before you squeeze the trigger. And I'd always pretend to sort of breathe into my hand and then take up that trigger pressure. So on deployment in 2009, after I did my stretching and breathing, I'd pretend I was breathing like a light into my left thumbnail. Breathe a light into it, breathe tension into it, and then breathe it out, tension away. And then my index finger, breathe into that, breathe it away. That one out, and then I'd go through all my fingers, and it was rare. I'd get through all my fingers, and then I'd go into this sleep, okay, which I was later to discover that oxygenation is quite a powerful anti-inflammatory as well. Okay, so it wasn't particularly mystic how I discovered it. It was just like survival necessary, and it felt right. So as much as I'm not particularly sort of academically qualified, I have a very high sense of what's working and what's not. And generally when I find something that really is powerful and works, and obviously this is with a performance end to it, like it's got to show up powerfully outside of, you know, the woo-woo. I don't mind woo-woo, but this, you know, it's got to work, you know. And so I was doing this breath work, and I just noticed that, you know, going to sleep with 2 cents, I would wake up, and instead of feeling worse, I would have 10 cents worth of energy.
Oh, that's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, this is a like a energy like money. How you invest, it's how you get it back. So I'm like, well, that's something that works. I'll do more of that. You know, 10 cents into 30 cents, 30 cents into $1.
That's excellent.
And then before I knew it, I had more energy, and I actually woke up and I could do some push-ups and sit-ups and all that sort of stuff. So I found that I could generate. I'm like, oh, I'm coming back. Tim is back, you know. But here's the thing. It's one thing to connect to yourself, like I'm good, but then when my team was hurting and having a bad day, guess what that meant? That meant I was having a bad day. So I had to self-generate enough to then pour into those guys, you know. And that
would have been tricky.
Well, here's the thing. I'm like, well, what can I do? I'm just one dude. And I was a private. I get told I do everything everyone else tells me to do. And then I'm like, well, how about I've got a supply of fresh coffee. Okay. How about I just make coffee for people? You know, but here's the thing. In the Special Forces, it's a very unique group of people in the way that, let's just say, if you do an act of service to an alpha male that might be a little bit insecure, they automatically put themselves, they are above you. Okay. And I knew if I started making people coffee, I'd get called the brew bitch. Okay. And I'm like, I didn't work as hard as I have to get called the brew bitch to be here, you know. But that's when, and this is where it gets a bit lucid. I've heard 2 audible whispers in my life, like 2 voices. And it could have been the fatigue. It could have, I don't know what it was, but here's what I heard. I heard this whisper, and it said, take the ego out of it. Okay. Take the ego out of it. Okay. I'm like, all right. Okay. And so I just mechanically go through the things of making coffee for people. And I got called the brew bitch. But here's what doing that taught me. It didn't matter if they loved me, hated me, you know, told me to get lost or denigrated me. The point was they were getting stronger. Okay. And who did I want around me when good times turned bad?
Strong
do I
ones.
want fatigued, disconnected people, or do I want rested, connected people? And the good thing about being in close quarters all the time is that I could see once I brought coffee over to a vehicle, well, thanks, brew bitch, fuck off. And I would go back to my vehicle and I would watch. And normally these guys are arguing, but when they had that sip, everything just stopped. Like the arguing stopped. I could see.
Because they're connecting to themselves.
The shoulders relaxed. They started looking up at the horizon. And for a second, they weren't in a war zone in Afghanistan. They were back home at a coffee shop, and they started talking and engaging. And I'm like, holy crap, I think I see it now. You know, take the ego out of it. And then and there, I saw the power of not servitude, but servanthood. Being of service and being in that servanthood allowed me to create spaces where people could connect and remove blockages. You know, and that's was a life-changing moment. So that's where breathwork started, and then it sort of just did more of a rabbit warren dive into that space. And you know, Wim Hof was very popular. I've done over 8,000 rounds of Wim Hof breathwork. I met the guy in Sydney, did a session with him, thanked him for his contribution. And just like just like, you grow up listening to music as a musician and it inspires you to do certain things. So I have my own style of breath work now that I do to, not just have people in the eyes, but to create certain states of being. And what I really want people to get from this is that you don't own a set of lungs. What you actually own is a medicine cabinet with a lot of different shelves. Yeah. Okay. And you breathe a certain way, you reach into a certain shelf to elicit a certain response. And the reason you don't hear about this, and this is why I really want to honor those people listening, because you're actually listening to this, because if you Google, like, how do I get to sleep? There's a number of different pharmacies quite interested in giving you a prescription. Okay. And that's what they gave me. I had I had so many freaking horse pills. My face would go numb. And I just thought, okay, that's just normal, But I was able to get off my pharmaceuticals for all the for getting to sleep through breath work. Okay. Yes. I was able to get off all the pharmaceuticals for my pain through breath work with anti-inflammation work. So I learned to create a medicine cabinet inside my chest that everyone can, but you don't hear about this stuff because essentially no one's making money from it.
Yeah.
Okay. There's no financial gain in breathing a certain way, but that is something I have a vision to change.
Yes. Woohoo! And I love already that I've only had one session face to face with you. I've done a myriad of other types of breath work, but the breath work that you do, I just love it because it just puts you into this state of pure bliss where you can actually feel like your potentiality is massive. You can do whatever you gosh darn want. And I love that reference you do to the medicine cabinet because it's so true. All the different styles that I've tried have accessed different parts of I call it my flow state. And I feel like it is so underspoken about and it's so undertaught. You are born with your breath, you die with your breath. Like, why would you not want to use that as the strongest and most powerful medicine you could do? So tell me, what are you doing with breath these days? Where are you taking it?
Okay, so my observation of the world is most people are just busy doing their thing. Okay. And there's a number of things that could make you feel better, but everyone's just busy paying the bills, doing their thing. So where can we reach people and benefit them where they are? How can I help someone else bring their gifts into the world? Because I can't do what you do, Katie. I really can't. But what can I do to help you bring your gifts into the world? Okay. And the first thing I see is a lot of people could do with a better night's sleep. Okay, so I dropped the name before, but Breathwork in Bed, BIB, is my new venture. All right, so we're going to be launching the Breathwork in Bed app early next year. In the meanwhile, I've written an ebook that will give you a link to describe what our intention is, what we want to generate with it, but give people that I want to do for breathwork what Uber Eats did for food. I want to have it delivered past your front door into your bed so you can actually access it when you need it. So on the app, you're going to be able to just hit that button and go, right, talk me to sleep, breathing. And then before you know it, you've lost your concept of time. You've lost any thoughts in your head, any tension in your body. And then you drift into this wonderful cloud of colors, alkalinity, anti-inflammatory, and you wake up feeling a whole lot better. But wait, there's more. We have a wake up routine that, instills the energy in your lungs, unblocks the rest of your body because you've been stationary for a bit, unblocks your internal organs, your legs, your arms, your head, your eyes. And then we fill our bodies with gratitude. And then we also do morning mirror work, affirmations in the mirror to get that conscious mind clicking into place. And if we can win the first 20 30 minutes of the day, we're going to win the day. Yes. And if I can give people access to that power, I just want it as well, I'm tired, but that made me feel better, what can I do more? That made me feel better, what can I do more? All right. And then when people have that experience of, well, that felt good, I want to do more of that. Just like, when I was completely stuffed with 2 cents worth of energy, turned it to 10, turned it to 30, got $1. Then we start asking, well, where's the next investment for me to get more investment from? That's when, on the app, we're going to have a generosity news wall where you're going to be asked, once you've done this amazing morning routine, would you like to do an act of generosity? Okay. And, yes or no. And would you like some accountability around that? Okay. And so we're going to have this generosity news wall where people can post up and share their acts of generosity, because the world I want to live in, if you haven't noticed, like, mainstream media doesn't often talk about the good news that's happening in the world. Okay. That's putting it lightly. All right. I cut out mainstream media years ago.
Yeah, same.
But what I want to see is, because there's so many good people out there, and a little bit of encouragement goes so far. So the world I want to live in is where people actually get a sense that they can contribute amongst other people that are doing the same thing, because when you keep on hearing bad news, bad news, bad news, you actually tell yourself, well, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah. We
because
see it in the older generation. They already like, oh, the world's a crap place. You can't do, there's no control. There's no this. It's like, what?
And what they're
You're
actually
in a
saying
total
is,
different
I tried
reality
once
to me.
and then it didn't work and I never want to try again.
Yeah.
That the art form of self-regeneration, cut your arm off, grow it back, cut your head off, grow your head back. This is what we're talking about right now, because everyone has been taken from, everyone's been smashed, everyone gets their head shoved in the toilet. Okay. But I think first you need to ask yourself a question. When you're up against something that you can't get through. Okay. So I was up against PTSD. And I'll just share something very personal. So in 2011, I was about to kill a man. Okay. This wasn't a paid gig. This was, I was going to kill this guy for free. I'd reached rock bottom. I stuck my hand up for help, and I'm freaking out going to this psychologist. And I tell him all the stuff that I saw in service. And at the end of it all, he goes, and he wasn't just incompetent. He was completely apathetic. Okay. It was quite obvious. And at the end of it, he said, oh, do you think it was a problem with your mum and dad?
Oh,
okay. Right. And this is where I just went click. Okay. And I saw his psychology degree behind him, and I knew it was a glass frame psychology degree. And in my state of disconnect, I'm like, I'm going to grab that psychology degree and feed it into his throat. I'm going to watch this guy die, because I'm doing everyone else a favor. This guy should not be on this planet right now. I made myself judge, jury, and executioner in that state of disconnect. And one thing I learned in Afghanistan is I could see things happening before they happened. Like, before I took a shot, I could see what I was going to hit before I even pulled the trigger. It was just there. And I saw myself, I'm doing this. So I get up to do it. And then it was like this hand on my chest saying, Tim, you are the toughest guy you know. How many other people are struggling in this medical system to get help? And then I saw them, okay? I saw thousands of people left and right of me, and they're all looking at me going, Tim, if you can find a way for you, you can find a way for us. You have to find a way from you. You can do this.
Ooh,
but you're going to
I can feel that through my whole body.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And then I'm like, yeah, I don't know how, but I have to find a way. And it might take me a month, a year, a decade, but that's the amount of time I'm going to be able to save other people. And if I didn't make that decision right now, I'd be in jail. Right now, we wouldn't be having this conversation in this context. And that's how close I came to discovering just what it is. And do you remember what I mentioned about we can become like very disempowered when we're disconnected? And often us blokes, we use anger to sort of for energy, but that's like writing a check for $1,000 when you only got $10 in the account. It puts you further into debt. Sort of gives you a little boost, but then you just go further under. And I was in that state of disconnect. I broke my own disconnection by seeing how many other people are in that state. So the people listening right now, whatever you're up against, okay, it could be a physical thing that you're struggling with. It could be an emotional thing. It could be another person. Ask yourself, how many other people on the planet right now are struggling to get through that particular thing? Okay, probably thousands. And if you can find a way forward for you through that, you're going to be able to find a way forward for them. All right. You are going to be the one to do this. And often that's enough to break your isolation and give you context of, there's actually something to this. So what I sort of, the conclusion I came to, and I throw this to the people listening now, is that when I was in that space, I imagined that people in my future are going to be really glad that I made the decisions. People I haven't even met yet are going to be glad I made the decisions now. That's going to affect them. So think about right now, the thing that you're getting through, and think of the people that go, thank goodness that in, 2023, you made these decisions to make a better version of you, because those decisions before you even met me impacted me now. And if you really want to go through the looking glass on this, if you're getting anything from what I'm saying right now, you were there with me in 2011 when I was about to kill a man. And you were saying, Tim, there is something, more to look at here. You've got to find a way for you.
Wow, that's powerful. I felt it through my whole body when you were saying that. Thank you so much for feeling safe to share that. That was huge. Huge. A big message, and rewind it and listen to it if that really resonated with you, or if it's something that you can do to tap into choice for you and choosing yourself, then definitely having a listen. Thank you so much, Tim. Thank you. I'm very excited about Breathwork in bed. I'm very excited about future collaborations with you. You're an amazing man. Thank you so much for always sharing so truthfully with all those around you. And yes, until next time. Is there anything else you had for our listeners before you go?
You know what? I think we've spoken about breathwork. I'd like to give you a little something, if that's okay.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay. So this is really easy, and it's you can do it with your hands, but it's best done with a towel. Okay. So and obviously don't do this while you're driving, do this while you're seated. Okay. So when I'm working with a lot of people, and I did this with 200 high school students maybe a week ago. I got them to bring along a towel, and I got them to fold it up into a square. Okay. And here's the thing. Our vagus nerve goes through our whole body. It controls motor skills, as well as it's a feedback sensor. Now, if you've got blockages anywhere through stress, then you have problems connecting to stuff, connecting to your own brain. All right. So I showed them what I call a vagus clearing exercise, but I coated it in something that was accessible, because you talk about you got to sort of have it accessible,
make it
to
relatable,
them, right?
Yeah.
So at home, if you don't have a towel or get a towel at one point, all we're going to do is take 5 deep breaths through our nose, and at the end of the 5th breath, we're just going to close our mouth and then hum it out as much as we can into the towel. Okay, and then we're going to take another deep breath in, and we're going to yawn, and we're going to again cover our mouth with the towel, and then yawn it out really from our belly. And then we're going to take another deep breath in, yawn from the chest. And then we're going to do another yawn like we're trying to scream from the top of our head. Okay, it's a try not to laugh challenge when I'm doing it with people. Okay, so if you're at home, we're going to take 5 deep breaths, and then we're going to hum. Breathing in through the nose, letting it go. And as you breathe in through the nose, I want you to look up like you're trying to roll your eyeballs back in your head. Really feel like you're snorting those through your sinuses into your brain. Couple more. Really roll those eyeballs back into your head as you suck the air through your nose, into your sinuses, into your brain. Last one. Hold it, and now just hum it out into your towel. Keep humming, create that resonance. You can hum into your hands if you've just got hands. Katie, I encourage you to hum into your hands. You're leading by example, use your hands. All the way out, out, out. Feel that resonance. Now take a deep breath in, hold it, and yawn. Open your jaw, yawn, yawn, yawn. Move your shoulders. sort of wriggle around. And when you can't stop that yawn, do a really big yawn from your belly. All the way out. All the stuck emotions in that last cup of air. Now another deep one, in. Hold it, just feel it around your chest, push it around your chest. And when you can't stop it, let out a sound from your chest. Out. All that stuck emotions, the last cup of air, hold it on the way out. Hold. Good. Now, this last one, we're going to take a deep breath in, and we're going to, as a higher pitch as we can. So deep breath in, like you're going to yawn, and then really high pitch. Keep the jaw open all the way out.
That vagus nerve is stimulated.
Stimulated, cleared.
So through doing this practice yourself, what have you found it's done for you?
Okay, some people I call it a vagal clearing. Some people call it a chakra clearing, because you're clearing from your guts, your chest, the top of your head. It just removes any stuck energy, and unlocking that jaw. We've got vagus nerve connection points behind our jaw. So you notice when people are tired, they're naturally trying to clear it, but you can actually sort of milk out all that stuck energy by really stretching out that face, and a towel sort of gives you the privacy to let you do that, because not many people want to show their mouths. It's like kind of rude in some cultures. So when I especially with students, they get their own private space when they're covering their face with a towel, and then I get them to carry that towel around, and I encourage listeners to have a towel with you, so you can actually, when you want to clear and get your head sort of straight, have that nice little scream off in the privacy of not waking up the neighbors. I do that with a pillow at nighttime, to clear all that. And so part of what I'm going to do with the app is have people access their own energy systems. They don't even know it's stuck, but when it's clear, you're like, oh my gosh, it's like the holiday you don't know you need, but when you take it, you're like, geez, I needed that. I'm going to be that guy.
I love it. And I know we did a bit of screaming into the towel when I was in the ice bath. Oh, that was powerful. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Tim. Anyone that's in the Brisbane area, connect with Tim, get along to one of his sessions where they do breath work and the ice baths, because it's very, very powerful. But also I look forward to seeing this amazing app of yours, and thank you for bringing such a creation into this world.
No, my pleasure. The link will be there. You'll get a bunch of free stuff. You'll get a free ebook and audiobook about breathwork in bed. I'm also doing a promo on my initial book, Fight, Flight, Feel. Okay, awesome. So all you got to do is type your details in, and you'll get a copy sent to you, a hard copy, as well as an ebook, an audiobook, which has got a bunch of bonus footage in there. ABC Steve Austin does an interview with me as part of the bonus footage.
Cool. That sounds great.
So that's all there. Big giveaway, breathworkinbed.com.au.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tim. And we look forward to having you on here again at some stage. Bye.
No problem, Katie.